Welcome in. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to see you here. Today we've got a flight planned from Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, and we're going all the way down on a long 2-hour flight to Venice, Italy. Quite looking forward to this. We are on flightgear, the game. We're flying in a Boeing 777-300 extended range. This is going to be a fairly clear day for flying. There shouldn't be too much overcast weather when we arrive, and I think Italy's probably going to be quite warm, so 2-hour flight we have planned. We already have our flight plan saved. We have now begun the boarding process, and we are also loading up some baggage as well. Our fueling's been complete, so I think the only thing we have to do now is wait for the boarding to complete, start up the 777 and get going. So yeah, let's start to get into the aircraft a little bit and start to examine some of the internal cockpit instruments. Okay, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the amount of passengers we got on board. We're expected to have a full plane. We're practically full in first class. We've got 21 people in first, 65 people in business, 272 people in economy, so the plane is absolutely chock-a-block. As you can see, the 777 part there at the jetway slash terminal to Schiphol Airport. There's Schiphol Airport in the background, Schiphol Amsterdam. A massive 777 plane, of course, has a huge capacity, a massive engine or engines. The diameter is the size of a 737's fuselage, and it can travel quite far without any issues generally. It's a really pleasant aircraft to fly. I like to compare it to a Rolls-Royce. It's got no relation to the engines, of course, although I think on this one we are using a maybe General Electric, Pratt & Whitney, who knows. I haven't really checked. Anyway, we're doing the process of boarding. We are going to speed that up, so I'm going to click on fast, just so we don't have to wait. We are expected to be departing at 35 minutes to 2, 35 minutes past 1, so we are running slightly behind time. Departure from taxi stand to taxiway should be momentarily. Okay, so we've done that. 368 souls on board. We've got 10 crew, which is great for the long flight. We've got some catering and belly cargo, so we're going to go ahead and disconnect that. We may have not have connected the catering. Actually, let's go ahead and connect and start loading. Start loading the trucks, unloading them onto the plane. Hopefully this works. I am going to be trying something different on Friday, not necessarily a new, well, yeah, a new plane. We're going to be going to 737 on Friday and trying Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. So if you're looking forward to that, and if you like my X-Plane demo video, you should like that as well, because we'll be doing a completely different plane, new game, and new route. But for now, we're going to stick with the 777. Okay, that's connected. Start loading. Awesome. 24 trolleys. Catering disconnects. Okay, so we're loaded up on food and everything else. Good thing I remember that, otherwise the passengers be complaining. Okay, let's see if this has any sound on. Nope. Check sound. Okay, that would help if I pressed the P for pause. It's slightly embarrassing. A nice start to the stream, not the best. Okay, battery on, the APU's on, we have the generator on. We did have ground power, but we're going to stick with the APU for now. Okay, we want the electrics on, we want the window heat, we do want the emergency power to arms, Adiro, this is for the computer systems. Can do that if you want, it's already on automatic. EC, usually all this stuff is already selected. Go ahead and stick our fuel pumps on, a relatively quick start, and just so we know, we can stick our navs on just to know, let the ground crew know that we're working on the aircraft, we're doing things inside. We are going to request the pushback now before we start our engine, so we connect. And we should really be doing the computer FMC, which we'll do in a second. So quick check of the autopilot on route manager will give us our route. Yes, that's correct. It's loaded it in. Amsterdam to the LIPZ, Venice. And a nice solid push back there onto the taxiway. Incredible to see so many KLM livery aircraft at Amsterdam Schiphol on flightgear. They've done a good job with these aircraft. That's another 777. Looks fantastic. And they've had a ton of 747s in the area as well. I think that's some of them in the background there. Hopefully we'll be able to see them as we're pushed out onto the taxiway. Entirely cockpit. We're going from the cockpit for this entire flight. We're not going to be looking outside. We've done our pre-flight inspection. We might have a look in the cabin if it's possible. We might get a chance to glimpse in. And there's no 747s in sight yet, which is a shame. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just wait for that to line up. Stop, center, connect, stick our parking brake on and get back to starting. Okay, now we're ready to start. We can click the beacon on, automatic on these, or maybe we'll leave them off for now. I'll do this slightly different. Turn them off for now, and well, we can't actually start without them, so there we go. Am I doing something wrong on here? Usually we don't have any issues on the 777. But today there is. We'll go ahead and stick all that on. APU bleed on. Oh, well, it would help if the APU's on. I thought I turned it on before, but it didn't start up. That's strange. That's very, very strange. We do have a timer, 2 hours 15. I'll go ahead and start that now. Let's see how accurate we can be to the timer. I'm not sure why that APU didn't come on before. Should have been it's my fault though for not hearing it. And there we go, we get the engines starting, they're in automatic. Hopefully that's not too loud on the engines. Hopefully you can still hear me nice and clearly. Okay, both are past 20% on the N2. We're going to introduce fuel, and we're going to stick our taxi lights on. These will go off. There's a fault because the engines haven't quite started, so when it started it should be providing enough air to the system. There we go. As you know, when you got the APU, it provides the air to the engines. That's why you got APU bleed air. You can go ahead and turn the APU off and the APU generator off. Okay. Passenger oxygen. We can change the oxygen levels on this, so we can change it down here. Pressurization, it's already set. I think we're pretty much ready to go after we've done the FMC, which should really be initialized before we taxi out, or before we start the engines. Okay, reference airport, so that's where we are now, so we're going to go ahead and put that in. Echo Hotel Alpha Mike. That's ours, that gives our current position. And gate is not a database. I don't really know what gate we're at. Set inertial position. It hasn't. We could just copy GPS, and it's sort of. I think it may have filled in. EHAM runway 24. So we set that on the heading, runway 24 for takeoff. Schiphol Airport's massive, it has something like 5 runways, which is insane, because if you think about it, most airports in the world have like 2 runways, so one of the biggest in the world, along with JFK and New York, of course. Okay, LIPZ destination, flight number, we'll go and put some random number in with British Airways, 254, that's a good one. And activate. There we go. We go on route. Oh, actually, we have to do the cruising altitude. I've already set all this in the pre-flight plan, but we'll go ahead and do it again. We are cruising quite high, we're going up to 36,000, so we're in a nice height for a cruise, and there's not going to be any issues with fuel burn. Ground weight is quite heavy, we're fully loaded with some cargo, fuel, reserves, 1 ton, minimum fuel temp, and cruising center of gravity. Cost index, I don't know, we'll put 100 in. I don't actually know what it is for British Airways. Thrust limit, I'm not too sure if this is working. Takeoff, it has given our reference speeds, or perhaps it hasn't, maybe I haven't done it correctly. Try that again. Takeoff, I'll just assume that they're the reference speeds right there. Okay, route again, we do it on this menu, route, departure, arrival. Not even giving us the option for runway 22 on there. Execute that. Now hopefully that should have activated the route on the planner for us. Let's check autopilot route manager. So it's giving us departure, not giving us the approach. It's kind of a pain in the ass. We will do it on this. We'll just pick 22 right, default approach, and it should load it in. There it is. Okay, we can set off. 2-hour flight, this is good. Looking forward to this. Parking brake. Just make sure my controller's connected. That's probably what you should do first. Make sure your flight controls and your controllers are connected correctly. Let's go on file, on flightgear, joystick, configuration. I do recommend an Xbox controller or a console controller with a flight sim regardless. Even Microsoft Flight Simulator, it works pretty well with it. Okay, so we have full aileron, elevators, rudders and thrust. Release the parking brakes, flaps to 1, and we get going to runway 25. 22, my mistake, 22. For a takeoff and departure. Speed 250, 45, in preparation for 250. I have to say, for a heavy aircraft, that the 777 is taxiing at a rather fast speed. But it's great to just see all these old aircraft sitting here. Old because the 777 I'm in is getting replaced by the 777X, which is a newer generation aircraft which should be released this year. I highly recommend checking it out. Looks like a fantastic plane. Probably going to be more advanced than the 787 Dreamliner. Dare I say it? You know, dare I say it? It probably will be. Okay, I've got to figure out where we are. No reference to an airport map. We will set our altimeter before we take off. It is giving us runway 24 on the route manager, but to okay, maybe it's my mistake, maybe it's too far. I'm rushing, I need to take my time a little bit. Okay, we got a sign there for Alpha November Bravo, etc. Go ahead and change that to 24 for now. Seems like we'll be taking the right hand and going down there. Ah, there's the 747, the classic KLM livery as well. Okay, there we are, going down the taxiway. There's the runway to our left. Say goodbye to all the 747s, KLM, Transavia. Probably Transavia in there as well. We welcome the flight with open arms. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for flying British Airways. I'm Grantham, it's Wednesday, and we have a very exciting flight ahead of us to Venice. I hope you're looking forward to the Venice carnivals and festivities, because I certainly am. Approaching 18 left, that's not our target runway. We are actually going to be taxiing down. We may have taken the wrong taxiway, or we may have to just go all the way around, because it seems like a rather big airport. So that's what we're going to do, all the way around. Who cares if we don't take off on the right runway, there's no one else around. That's the thing I love about flight gear. It can be kind of loose, if that's the correct word, loose, and not as on it, should I say, not on the ball as much with it, because the computer and AI system for ATC doesn't really bother if you disobey it. In fact, it doesn't work that properly at all, so yeah, good luck with it. Okay, it may have helped if we'd gone down another taxiway. We'll have to go. It's given us the. Well, I could take on 22 like I originally said, and depart from that. Well, too fast on the taxiway too. Gotta be super careful we don't crash. Just check the weather. Pressure is 29.97 inches. 97 inches. Go ahead and change that. Make sure our altitude is set 36,000. We could do a straight out departure. And we're going to go ahead and take off on this runway right here. The one that I originally said. And we're just going to do a straight out, so we are ready. We're going to stick our lights on. We're going to make sure we're lit up like a Christmas tree, so we stick our strobes on taxi lights off. Logo and wing lights can actually stay off as well until we're at least in the air on a flight path. We're probably going to need the rest of the runway, so we're going to taxi slightly round to on the runway itself. I was going to say go round that taxiway and then go round to the other end, but we'll go on the runway. Martin Air on the other on the right. Thank you, co-pilot. We're actually going to do a U-turn any moment in the giant 777. Probably the first time you've ever seen that being done. And welcome in as well. I hope everyone's doing very well. It's great to be back on the flight simulator. This is probably one of the best passions and hobbies you can have in life, is a good flight simulator. There's some great YouTube channels as well to watch, and I highly recommend them. If you like this kind of stuff, go out there and explore those channels, because they're offering some great content. Okay, fantastic U-turn by the 777. I believe we're ready to depart. We're going to arm our rotor throttles. Make sure we're on that centre line. Thank you, co-pilot. I can confirm we're on runway 22, 6,600 feet remaining, and ready to depart. Let's go. Forgot to configure flaps, so apply 5 degrees of flaps right there. Takeoff go around thrust is set. V1, rotate. Good takeoff, positive rate, gear up. Make sure that nose doesn't pitch up too steeply. The autothrottle kicked it in. We are going to prepare to do our departing turn to the left. Oh, just look at the fantastic weather in Schiphol, the fantastic cloud modelling on flightgear. I mean, look at that. That is on par, if not better, dare I say it, than Microsoft Flight Simulator. In my limited flight experience on these games, I'd say it is better. Much better. I mean, look at that. That's a screenshot right there. Okay, we're getting distracted. We got 2-9. We've done the weather. We've got our initialized flight plan. Climbing straight through to 36,000 feet. Incredible. And the 777 handles it with ease. These engines are probably more powerful than the 747s, which is saying something. The aircraft itself weighs 172 tons empty. Just imagine that. Okay, we're going to do it after takeoff checklist as we prepare to depart Schiphol Airport for our flight route. So we're going to turn the landing lights off. We are going to turn our overlights on. Seatbelt signs on. Flaps are retracted as we climb through 8,000 feet. May have retracted the flaps slightly too soon. And after takeoff checklist complete. And in a second we should have engaged lateral navigation before takeoff, but it doesn't really matter too much. We'll engage it now and we'll prepare to click the autopilot on in a second. I just want to maintain about this speed on the ascent. As we pass through 10,000 feet, we can now exceed 250 knots. And as you can see from the flight plan, we have considerably more checkpoints in this route than we did on previous ones. This is because we're going through many different territories and airspaces. All of them are relatively far apart. I'd say this is about 500 nautical miles plus in total, so quite the distance across Europe. Many, like I say, many different areas, different territories and different kind of climates. Okay, I'll go ahead and activate the autopilot. That should take us on course. If it doesn't and it starts to do its own thing, we can always take over ourselves, make sure it does. Now, since I've programmed the cruise altitude for 36,000, the aircraft should now determine the climb rate. As I've said before, you can alter it using the vertical speed. Doesn't seem to be climbing, so and give it a second, it might start. No, so we'll go ahead and give it a climb up vertical speed 2,500 feet a minute. Increase our speed to 320 knots, which is our final cruise speed. Also simultaneously helps it climb as well. Without speed you do not have power, and without power you do not have altitude. You see from the map we got quite the distance and a lot of checkpoints. Doesn't look too far, to be honest, when you look at it like that, but it is still a 2-hour flight, so yeah, that's crossing many different. Remember, we're in Amsterdam, we've got to go through Germany, down through Austria, Switzerland most likely, and down to Italy. If there's any issues with the stream, I haven't been saying it because there hasn't been, but just in case there's a crash, we will have to terminate the flight, unfortunately, which is it's a sad thought. Let's hope not. It's just always a possibility on these longer flights that something may go wrong. Flight gear has been quite well behaved lately, so yeah, sit back and enjoy it. Let me know what you thought about it as well. Let me know in the chat what you think. Is the 777 a good aircraft or not? Remember, this is a 300 extended range, so it's perfectly capable of doing this flight, and probably can fly from somewhere like Sydney or all the way up to Paris, and vice versa, or Paris to New York with absolutely no issues. So yeah, if you want to see a longer flight in the 777, let me know, because this is one of my favourite aircraft. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and switch the fasten seatbelt sign off, so people are free to move out of the cabin. We are at a safe altitude and we're climbing relatively stably, so that means people can move about with absolutely no issues whatsoever. We hope you enjoy the flight very much. Estimated flight time is approximately 2 hours, but we're en route already, so about 1 hour 50 minutes remaining. Travelling at 320 on cruise speed. Okay, so the aircraft is leveled off at 36,000 feet, that's flight level 360. It's now speeding through 280 knots to 320. I was a bit concerned at the end there, seems to be climbing and losing a bit of speed, but I suppose we haven't really burned off enough fuel weight yet. I've not kind of calculated the fuel too much, so hopefully we got enough. I'm pretty sure we should. The 777's got plenty of should have plenty of fuel on board. We check a route and we can probably find out. So we got legs. Ah, there we go. Legs tells us our waypoints. Don't want to click on anything there, so we're going back initialization. Ground weight is decreasing, so that'll help the aircraft speed up to 320. And fuel 54, I'm assuming that's... Let me just check. I assume that might be like 54. Yeah, £530,000. I hope that is. I know, 54,000 pounds. Okay. I hope I'm saying that correctly. We can see our gross weight there is just below 500,000 and we are well below weight. Fuel's looking good though, I'm not too concerned, so we can just let you enjoy the flight. Just checking in as we fly through our checkpoints towards Venice. I have to say it's looking very nice indeed outside. The skies and the clouds looking very pretty. Good job, flightgear. Very good job on the simulation. I did have my pet peeves with it, and it does occasionally crash despite being on a really good gaming PC. But in general, I love it. It's one of the few simulators that actually includes the 777. The most detailed aircraft on the game. So if you want a flight sim, you want the 777, I highly recommend it, because this is quality level, top end modelling, and the physics and aircraft dynamics are on par with the real aircraft, so well done. And the crash physics as well are fantastic. You can crash this aircraft, you can destroy the wings, and you can have problems, so as long as you don't fly it like an absolute maniac, you shouldn't have any issues. And I'm doing this check-in because we are currently speeding through our flight plan. I have to say, we're absolutely speeding through it. We're going 0.87 Mach. That's actually faster than the 777's recommended cruising speed. But that's fine, we've got plenty of fuel to burn. Plenty of fuel to burn, and plenty of weight. So, you can just confirm who's on board. It's nice to remind yourself who you're flying. We have got quite a lot in first class. We've got 21, 65 in business, 272 in economy. So a lot of people, a lot of crew as well. 10 crew members, including 2 pilots and some catering. So yeah, this is one hell of a flight. And I think from Venice we're probably going to go over to the... well, we're going to do that flight on Friday on a Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'm going to try that out from Moscow. Well, in terms of the 777, the next flight we do will probably be from Venice and across back to the European cities, such as maybe somewhere in Poland. I was thinking, either in Warsaw, or we can go to small ones such as Krakow. I'd love to fly there in the 777, or we can even go further east. We can go into the Middle East and go down to Dubai. But I think for a flight like that, I might be better off flying the Airbus. I don't want to, because this is my plane, this is my personal plane on here. You know, Grantham flies this, so he wants to fly, I want to fly the 777 in the best possible way without damaging it, because as soon as it gets damaged, it ends up needing maintenance, and that can cause delays in flights. So yeah, that's hopefully going to be the plan for the next trip, and I hope if anyone's got any good recommendations for the 777, you'll let me know. Let me know in the comments, or let me know in the if you're watching this on replay. Just leave me a comment down below and I'll reply to you. I think we're due that post mid-flight check-in, so we are cruising at 36,000 feet, 0.87 Mach, which is slightly over recommended cruising speed. Everything's going very well. The aircraft is burning fuel efficiently. Some fantastic views as we pass over the mountains towards LIPZ, aka Venice, Italy. I'm just checking in. I've just checked the radar, the metadata for Venice, and we're expecting a runway arrival of 04, so we can update that in our route manager. Now we are actually speeding through this flight quite fast, faster than I was anticipating, so we might arrive probably very early, hopefully. Okay, so we've already got 22 right, so we're going to go ahead and select 4. 4 is the active runway. We have a 11 knots headwind on landing, which is pretty good, I guess. That's going to help us slow down. Default approach, so that's gone ahead in. The route manager's changed it to 4 right. The pressure is about the same, 1012 hectopascals, and we're expecting light rain, so yeah, I hope you didn't bring your summer clothes, because we're not quite there yet. Yeah, that's about it for the mid-flight check-in. I hope everything's going well. We haven't actually looked around the cockpit too much during this flight, so I'll give you a quick rundown now. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Grantham. I'm really pleased to meet you, and I'm so glad to be on this flight. This is definitely one of the more exciting flights. Yes, it's 2 hours, but it's certainly worth it. We're in the 777-300 extended range Boeing, and we're currently en route on a scheduled flight to Venice. Grantham usually flies these intercontinental European flights throughout the week. We are destined to continue after Venice, most likely onto somewhere like the Balkans or Poland. You can decide, or I can decide for you, it doesn't matter. Anyway, we'll look round. So we've got the overhead panel, one of the more detailed aircraft, I have to say, for flight gear. Very detailed indeed. Our computer here, not everything is functional though, so if you get it, just be aware that not everything is working. I'm going to zoom out a little bit because I see it. You got obviously the seats, oxygen mask there, fire extinguisher, safety equipment. So it's very detailed. I'd say this is one of the better models. The overhead panel has everything you would expect, and it looks green at night. That's one of the great things about the 777, it has that green glow when the lights are on. And of course the console, the seats here for anyone jump seating us, that's the jump seat for any co-pilots or pilots who might be transferring to another airport, or even engineers, or sometimes flight attendants can sit there. Yeah, so we've got the center console, we've got the main thrust levers and spoilers, flaps, everything there is functional. The FMC works, but not everything is working correctly. We have of course the autopilot. That's with the vertical navigation isn't 100% functional, but I'd say realistically you're not going to need it. I've not used it in one of these long-term flights, because if you do, it might cause some issues. Or look, like I say, we've gone over the top console. Everything there is usually switched on. A lot of the switches are already in the position you need them to be when you start up the engines, so it's a very basic start-up process. You do have access to the pressurization. Over here it says ram turbine, there ram air turbine, which is a part of the engine. We don't need to worry about that, that's non-functional. Some cargo fire buttons do work. We can actually dump fuel if we need to. We have a fuel jettison. Bleed air works. Air conditioning works. We can turn temperatures up or down. The APU fire doesn't work, and the engine fire buttons don't work down here. I forgot to mention that. The discharge, which is a little bit of a shame. But I think overall this is one of the better planes to fly, and we're really getting there. We're within 100 miles already, 160 nautical miles already. So yeah, the 777 is speeding through this. amazing sights of the mountains, probably Austria or Switzerland you would expect, maybe even France, the south of France right there. If we zoom in on our sort of map, we can see we have a few checkpoints before we're there. The route manager's can't give us an exact ETA, but my guess is probably about half an hour to 45 minutes at the absolute most. So yeah, I'll let you enjoy the rest of the rest, and I'll check in with you when we're a bit closer. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it seems like we're going to be starting our descent momentarily. We are still currently at 36,000 feet, going about 290 knots. We are planning to arrive well ahead of schedule, so thank me later. We will start now to descend and hopefully be on the approach within approximately 5 minutes. So yeah, for those who are watching the stream or watching this on replay, if you want to calculate descent, there's a calculator. Computer can do it for you, or you can just use your sort of common sense and determine the rate you need to descend at to reach that next checkpoint in time. Usually I won't be too concerned about overshooting it as long as we descend in time. We've got, according to the route manager, we've got about just under 6 minutes before we get to the approach, so that's giving us enough space to get down. So we're going to go ahead and descend down rather drastically to 6,000 feet. Flight level change. If the autopilot or the plane doesn't determine a sufficient descent rate, we can determine it for it. Okay, so it's descending quite rapidly, which is good. We're going to change this back to airspeed, and we're going to take it down. Well, we'll keep it at 294, but we'll bring it down when we get a bit closer to about 260. And the plane is descending extremely fast. I didn't realise it would go down this rapidly, about 4.5 to 4,300 feet a minute. Fasten seatbelt sign on. I need passengers to return to their seats for this because this is a rapid descent. As you can see, we're approaching. We have some traffic in the area, so we got a aircraft there at 39,000. We're well below that, and then we got some other aircraft there as we come into our approach routes, approach legs, which I have to say are not looking very smooth. There's quite drastic changes there and dramatic turns. You have a good steady descent rate, and then boom, a Cado or a Cardo checkpoint. We turn left, right, and then we go left, and then left again. By the time we get to this point, we do need to be, according to our route manager, we need to be down below 6,000, I think it is. Well, it doesn't say, but I'm guessing it's about 6,000 feet, and then by the time we get onto the glide slope, excuse me, the localizer, which is this, for right 12, we need to be below 4,000. We'll be well below that by then. We have a ETA of about 4 minutes. Everything's looking fairly good. It's been uneventful to say the least, but as usual, when we get down to the destination in these locations, the weather changes, sometimes dramatically to the point where we can't see anything, and other times it's fine. This is a bit hit and miss on flightgear, I have to say. No need for the landing lights yet. We're not even on the localizer yet. As you see, it's coming down very fast below our cruise altitude. That's another miracle out of 777. I have got the timer on the screen. 52 minutes. We are probably going to be well ahead of that by about 20 to 30 minutes, I'd say. Just keeping an eye on that destination and our ETA. May need to bring that speed down to 240. For some reason the aircraft stopped descending. Very strange. May have been to maintain the speed. We have set it for 6,000. I thought we were going to do it in time, but at this rate, possibly not. Zero over the water. And Italy, the LIPZ Venice approach, very famous. The aircraft is now turning well in advance of the checkpoint, which I did not anticipate. So it's very, very smart. It knew there was going to be a steep turn, and it took advantage of it by turning early. I love it, absolutely love it. We do need to be descending. We are going down at 4,500 feet a minute, but we really do need to be down below 4,000 feet by the time we hit that approach. Landing lights come on. We may have to deploy the spoilers just to bring that speed down. I love that. I love the fact that the aircraft has just turned to anticipate the fact that we're going to be, you know, it would have been too steep a turn to have done it at the last minute. That's one of the most advanced aircraft I've ever been in. One of the earliest aircraft to be fly-by-wire. I've already mentioned in previous streams, so I won't go into it too much. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and just... We're not going to deploy them fully. We might... well, I think that's the only option, but we will arm them in advance. Well, we could always decrease our descent rate to 4,000. That might bring the speed down. Sort of at that point where I'm panicking a bit. Yeah, as I was saying, the Venice LIPZ approach, fantastic one. It's right on the coast. If you know the I think it's St. John Paul Airport. Yeah, I'm really sorry if it's not that, if it's not called that, but it's on the coast. It's right next to the water. Yeah, fantastic views all around. So hopefully, it seems quite cloudy at the moment, but hopefully we can see it when we get a bit lower down. If you're new here, welcome in. We are on the final. We seem to have the aircraft seems to have done a absolutely bizarre path. It seems to have skipped the turn to the approach, and it's just gone straight from the sort of last checkpoint onto the localizer turn, which is really odd, to be honest. I'm going to have to correct it dramatically, because that's going to end up ballsing up our flight. So we're going to have to hold our head, and we're going to have to go back round. I knew that was going to be too much for the aircraft to do that. Them steep turns, maybe a 737 or something, but not a 777. So we're going to go back round. We're going to come to our left here, and we're going to turn back onto the glide slope from further away, and make sure we hit it properly. Just maintain our altitude. We need to check the pressure. I know I said it was 1012 on the hectopascals, but sometimes the game can be different. 29.94 inches. Go ahead and deploy our flaps, reduce down to 220. You see the aircraft will come back round in my correction of the autopilot, and it will come back round here, and then intercept number 4 right, 12, ready for the glide slope. We'll keep the map open. We are well ahead of schedule, so thank me later. And there's that light rain again. As usual, as expected, it always happens. You get there, and the weather's exactly what you expect it to be. Getting our call outs for 2500. We want to be about that height. We might as well keep it. Maybe 2200. Ready for the approach into John Paul. I'm going to check that now so I'm not saying the wrong airport name. I'm pretty sure it's John Paul Airport. If it's called LIPZ, Venice. Yeah. Well, there's actually another John Paul Airport in Krakow, Poland, which is a coincidence because that will probably be our next destination. But we want the Venice one. Let's see what that is. It's Marco Polo. Oh my, I'm so sorry to the Italians. I think I've just offended an entire nation of Rome and Italy. I'm so sorry. It's Venice Airport, Marco Polo. Okay, that's interesting. So we were correct about the Krakow Airport, which is our next destination. but the Venice one is Marco Polo. Okay. We're descending, we're still at 2,200, ready to do our base leg turn left onto the localizer. It seems like we have another aircraft here which may be coming in for landing as well. We're going to just give it a little bit longer on this downwind leg, extend the downwind leg, probably deploy another notch of flaps when we get onto our base leg and bring that speed back to 200. If you've flown into the Venice airport, let me know if you've enjoyed it. Let me know what aircraft you went on. You like the fact that I'm flying on a 777. It's a huge aircraft, so yeah. Always interesting to see how both the environment and different airports handle it. Category E, in terms of its size, it can handle extreme conditions as well very easily. Boeing did a damn good job of it. I just hope the new generation that comes out this year, the X 777X edition, is also just as good and even more advanced. Right, we've extended the downwind leg, so we're going to go ahead and turn left onto the base leg. We will just turn it straight to our runway heading, which is, according to our route manager, 04 right. So we'll go ahead and turn that all the way, which the aircraft can turn. 04. Want to be below 2,000 feet, so go ahead and descend down to 1,800. When we've got onto the heading of 040, we're going to click onto the LNAV again. That should take us to our glide slope, our localizer glide slope. It does seem that we have another aircraft here. We do have to keep our distance. Altitude alert, yes, that's always a concern. Go ahead and slow down so you don't intercept it to 180. Deploy another notch of flaps. Our speed brakes are armed, our flaps and our landing gear are now set. Fasten seatbelt signs are on. So the pre-landing checklist is complete, and there's probably some more. There's probably more things to do in real life. You would set your radios, you would do a tower call, etc, etc. And let them know your intentions if you're coming in, or they might let you know if you've missed the glide slope or the localizer, etc. Okay, it seems like we're following that other aircraft on final. We'll go ahead and select LNAV, make sure we're lined up with it. We want to select localizer, and when we're on the localizer, and then approach when we're on the glide slope. I mean, at this point we can just do a visual approach. This flight is visual, VFR rules, so there's not really any need to be too concerned about the instruments, because we can see where we're going and we can see what's happening. Of course, in real life they still focus on the instruments regardless of the weather. It's just because it's a flight sim, we can be a bit willy-nilly with it. We do have our reference speed for landing programmed. It should give us for our weight, so we're fully loaded. Fuel's actually quite good. We've used a lot. We'll go ahead and gonna say engage the localizer. Just give it a few more moments. Reference speed down here. That's probably our landing speed or a stall speed, so we don't want to be below that. probably going in about 150 knots, I reckon. Again, there are ways to calculate this, I just haven't, might not be a good enough sim, who knows, might not be good enough to be able to calculate it, might not work on this. Okay, so we'll go ahead and select our localizer button. That should now line us up with the localizer. And that other aircraft in front is about to touch down on 04 right. Followed of course by the 777, that's us. Aircraft's kind of all over the place with the thrust, so we might have to go in slightly faster than 150. We may have to go in at 160. Just double check our pressure. Still coming up as Schiphol. We actually want LIPZ, Lima Indigo, I think it's Indy or Indigo or something like that. Papa Zulu, Venice. I have got the localizer locked in, so I'm going to go ahead and select glide slope in and check the waypoint. Well, we can go ahead and select that now. Approach, and that should take us down on the glide slope as we bring our speed back to 160, which will be our landing speed. A little bit fast, a little bit more than expected, just because we're heavy, and then I thought we would come in at deploy another notch of flaps. We're getting very close now to landing. Slightly below the glide slope by the looks of it. And there is the magenta diamond illuminates, and as it starts to get closer to that centre, we're going to start to lock onto it. There it goes. So now the approach is engaged and the magenta diamond is moving towards the centre. Our aircraft should start to follow it towards the runway. We deploy the last notch of flaps. Speed brakes are indeed armed. There we go, locked on. It's a glide slope. You can turn the map off, and it's entirely a combination of instrument and visual at this point. Nice heavy rain in Venice Airport. Land free's been engaged on the autopilot. The outer marker's beeping, so we're very close to final. Just checking out what that is at the bottom. There seems to be a giant bridge or road. Yeah, land freeze engaged, which means the plane should land itself. Well, of course, we're piloting the aircraft, so we'll take over a couple of 100 feet off the ground and land it ourselves. Struggling to see that runway though, I can't see any airport. There's the runway's in sight. This is the exciting part. Very, very exciting. So take controls, prepare to take control. Prepare to disengage the auto throttle and the autopilot. There should be a quick way to do that, I'm not sure how. Can go ahead and disengage that now. And prepare to disengage the autopilot. Very good now, very good. Hold it steady. Minimums. Hold it steady. And don't flare too easily. Too early. 100 feet, there's the flare. Disengage the autopilot, reduce the throttle to idle. Engage reverse thrusters, thank you co-pilot. Very smooth landing, slightly off to the right. Go ahead and reduce those reverse thrusters to 0, disengage them. Landing lights off. Strobes off. All the lights except the beacon and navs off. Put this speed brake back. We've actually arrived in Marco Polo Airport, Venice, after a 2-hour flight, which is fantastic. We've done this well ahead of time. I did take into account extra time just in case, and we did need it for the extended localizer intercept there at the end. I'm going to go ahead and taxi to the terminal, wherever that might be. I'm not too familiar with the airport. Seems like there's 2 runways you can use. Go ahead and taxi down here. I'm going to go ahead and go straight across. Very good lighting. I have to say I was disappointed at the Schiphol Airport lighting. It seemed to flicker on and off. As we've arrived in Venice, the lights have come on. There's a very nice rain effect. No terminal, unfortunately. It's not a developed airport, but still nonetheless exciting. Or it might not just be. It might just be in the parking. So we'll go ahead and taxi to the left. Bring that speed down. Make sure we don't overspeed. Okay, we've gone a bit far, but we'll keep going. I don't know if that's a space, but we're going to park here anyway. It seems like there might potentially be a building that's supposed to be in that position. Okay, we'll go ahead and taxi there. We'll put our brakes on. I'm going to do a shutdown, so we're going to turn our lights off. We're going to start by engaging the APU. We want the APU on because then it'll be prepared for the next flight. It's relatively simple to turn it off. I say that, you should really cut the fuel pumps off. And then turn the fuel flow off from the engines. Turn these off. Turn the Adiro off. Emergency lights can stay armed. APU's on, of course. That's off. Off, and the seatbelt signs off. I think that's the shutdown complete. Window heat. You could have left that on for the next pilot. It's usually somebody who leave that on for the flight in advance. But yeah, that's been a fantastic experience. I've really enjoyed the flight and the taxiing. It's been a lot quicker than I expected. I hope you've enjoyed it, so thank you so much for joining me. Take care.